Hello, everyone, and thanks again for joining us here at Lux Mundi, where we bring you amazing people from around the world. And today we have a very special guest, Ted Mahr. Ted Mahr will be joining us at this year's 7th World Conference on Peace and Light, which will be on the days of the 18th, 19th, and 20th of June. Hello, Ted. How are you today?
Hi, Teresita. Thank you so much for having me on today. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. I know we will.
Yes, it's such an honor to have you here, and I can't wait
Well, thank you.
to hear what you've been up to and what you will be talking to us about during this year's conference. So I'm going to
Oh,
tell our listeners a little bit about you, Ted, especially for
okay.
those of us that may not know much about the work that you do.
hmm
So Ted Mahr is a psychic and a radio and television show host for his program Out of This World, which has hundreds of thousands of listeners in over 100 countries and is one of the most popular spiritual and metaphysical radio programs in the world. He comes from a psychic family and has been in touch with the other side for the past 27 years. He has written two books, Messages from the Masters and Journey to the Other Side, Talking to Angels and Other Benevolent Beings, and is currently working on his third book. So,
hmm
Ted, it's such an honor. I can't wait to just hear all the amazing things that you've been up to lately. And this is actually, how many times have you been participating with us in these conferences now?
Oh my goodness. I almost want to say I lost count. Let me see. I
You've been
think we
in many
started
of them. I know that.
many of
Right?
them. Yeah, yeah. At least for
Yes.
the past 5 years, maybe or so.
Yes.
Or
Yes. You've
5 years.
been in
Yeah.
many of them, and it's such a pleasure to have you. So I can't
Oh,
wait. So, Ted, tell us, what has inspired you to journey to the other side and speak with great spirits, thus
hmm.
receiving information about the new world that awaits us?
Well, that's a good question. Thanks for asking that. I come from a psychic family where it was normal to talk to the other side. And my foster mother was a master psychic who used to find missing and lost children in Seattle for the Seattle Police Department area.
Oh, wow.
And so she taught me how to do it. And then after my dad passed over in March of '99, he came through and worked through her. And I worked with both of them until my foster mother passed away, Terry, in 2012. But they're on the other side. They've been teaching me ever since. So that's how I've learned basically. I've been doing this a long time, and it was interesting. I was an attorney for decades, and I really wasn't happy with it, though. I got tired of representing crooks and criminals, and
Uh-huh.
there came to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. And
Okay.
I ended up I made this plea out to the spirit world, and my angel said, "What am I going to do now?" And what happened is that a homeless man came up to me in a Seattle library. I like
Oh,
libraries, I was reading, and he
mm-hmm.
said, "Ted, you need to have your own radio show and start writing books." And then I turned around and he disappeared on me. And so, just to hit it home, another fellow in another library did the same thing. He came up to me and he said, "Ted, you need to have your own radio show and start writing books." And then he disappeared. And I thought, well, gosh, maybe they're trying to tell me something. Of course, they were angels. And
Uh-huh.
then I meditated and I said, well, where am I going to find out how to do that? Because I had no idea how to do it.
Uh-huh.
And as it turned out, I met this really nice lady who had a friend who ran the station in Seattle, and I met with him. And 45 minutes later, I'd signed a contract for my own show. And and back then, it cost, I think it was an $800 a month program on Friday afternoons.
Okay.
And within about 6 months, my show had gone. It was the most popular show on all their couple dozen shows they had on
Wow,
their radio
Ted.
program, and they asked me to do a second show. And back then, it was costing about, I think, 1,300 a month. And I didn't. I said to my angel, said, "Where am I going to get this money?" Because I was just working a consultant at the time, and they said, "Don't worry, we'll get it to you." And so the donations just came in. It's been a nonprofit program since that time, and I haven't looked back since. So the purpose of my show is to make this world a better place, and I know if we all work together, we can create a much better and happier place. I had been alive during Atlantean times, 12,500 years ago, when a small group of military and civil leaders got together and tried to control the world with nuclear and crystalline weapons, and they ended up blowing up much of the planet. And but
Right.
we're all back, and that's like Shakespeare said, it's like all world's a stage, we're but actors upon it. So we're all back again doing the same kinds of lessons. But many, me and a lot of other light workers back at the Atlantean Times tried to stop it. We failed, but we're back again, and this time we're succeeding. And your help is helping to succeed, Dr. Fernandez, and all the beautiful people with your conference every year. That's why I love your work. I love the name, Peace and Light Conference. I mean, that's what we need right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a unique name and it's very special. And I think in itself, it really explains the purpose of why these conferences take place every year.
yeah.
And Ted, so how can your work as a psychic help create a world of peace and light?
Well, that's a good question. It started with Dr. Emoto when I had him on my show on July 25th, 2014. I
Uh-huh.
invited him on my show, and the show was running from started at 3 p.m. Pacific to 4 p.m. Pacific time. And in the middle of, Dr. Moto did these experiments with crystals, and
Right.
this is a crystal, for example, from our little messages from water book. When you
Hmm.
send positive love and light to water on the molecular level, you get these beautiful water crystals like this. Okay, and I said, well, that's all great, Dr. Moto, but could that help create world peace? And he said, most certainly. And I said, okay, let's do some meditations for world peace now. And at the time, the Israelis and the Palestinians had been fighting in the Gaza Strip.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, let's pray for spontaneously. I said, let's pray for a 12-hour ceasefire for them, both sides, to exchange food and medical supplies. So we did for about 5 minutes. And then the show ended at 4, and I went back to where I was staying. And that evening, I turned on television and to watch CNN. I don't watch CNN now, but back then I did. And so on the bottom of the television screen, it said BBC announces that the Palestinians and the Israelis had just agreed to a spontaneous 12-hour ceasefire to exchange food
Oh
and medical supplies.
my
And that's exactly what
goodness.
we meditated for. And I had about, at the time, my show was only about maybe 6, 7 months old, 8 months old. And at the time I had
Okay.
34,000 listeners. Now I've got a couple 100,000, but it was smaller back then. I was just
Hmm.
starting out. But everybody meditated for this, and it happened. And I was just so pleased.
That's
Then of course,
amazing.
Dr. Moto passed away a couple months later, but I was sold
Right.
on the project. Yeah, I
Passed
knew that.
away in October, right? Of that
Yeah,
year? Oh, yeah.
he was actually, he was given tea laced with ricin by a
Oh,
Chinese ancient. Yeah, he was poisoned.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
no.
long story, but his work now is continuing by the
Mhm.
office, Michiko Hayashi and Dr. Moto's
Yeah.
office. So they're going strong. I mean, there are negative entities out there, but we're forging ahead. It doesn't matter. We're
Yes,
light
yes.
stronger than the dark. So anyway, that
And I hear you also work with the Hopi Indians. Is that
yeah,
correct?
I do a lot of work with the Hopi. There was I had a fellow on my radio show a couple of years ago named Leon McLaughlin, who does clean water projects for people around the world, and he was talking about how he was helping people in Africa get clean water. And
Mhm.
I stopped in the middle of the show. I said, "Well, what about the U.S.? Do you work here too?" He
Yeah.
says, "Oh yes. Do you know about the Hopi?" And he says, "No." And I said, "Well, Hopi men on an average live only 44 years, and Hopi women live only 54 years because they
Mm.
drink water contaminated with arsenic and high levels of radiation."
Wow.
And I said, if we could raise some money to get them some water filters, that would be fantastic. So since that time, I've been doing it, and we must have gotten in close to $40,000,
Wow.
where 100% of it goes right to these water filters for the Hopi. And they just now many families on the Hopi and some Navajo have clean water thanks to our efforts. It's not only me, but
Yeah.
also Liam McLaughlin, Clean Water Foundation in Seattle, Martha Chowdhury's Natural Choice Network in Seattle, and Sedona, and the Michiko Hayashi Course from the Emoto Project. Each one of the water filters that go out gets one of these little children's books, which is
Oh,
really
the
cool.
children's books, yes.
Yeah,
And
and
aren't the children's books also available in, I think, 35 different languages?
yeah,
Am I
something
correct?
like that.
Yes.
They're just everywhere. So we are powerful spiritual beings meant to create a much better and happier world. But that was what the Chinese and the reptilians didn't want out. They didn't want us to realize it. It's so silly. What's interesting about that interview I had with Dr. Emoto is that in the middle of the broadcast, if you listen to it on my website, it's still there, it's free,
Mhm.
outofthisworldradio.net. Then you go to the archives at the top and guests, and you click on it, go down to 14, listen to it. It's July 25th. The part where we're doing our prayers for meditation for peace
Mhm.
in the Middle East, you hear paper shuffling. You don't hear any of us speaking.
Oh, wow.
Um, and it was taken off by negative entities later because they didn't want us to realize that we are powerful spiritual beings. And that's why Dr. Emoto was poisoned by the
Okay.
Chinese. And
Okay.
and I was told not to talk about it. So for the last 7 years, I haven't said anything, but I only got the authorization a month ago it was okay to
Okay.
talk about it now
That's
because
great, Ted.
the entities responsible for that have been arrested and eliminated.
Okay.
So they're
That's
gone.
I guess that must be good news then to a certain degree where you're able now to speak about the situation,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah,
before you weren't. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they said I would be eliminated previously if I'd said something, but now I'm safe. So
Okay.
it's okay. It's
Okay.
okay. I can talk about it
That
now.
that's
But
good. That's good. And so,
yeah.
Ted, with everything that's been happening in the world during these times, do you
Hmm.
feel that there are reasons to be hopeful?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The supreme being or God, if you will, who's created all this, has decreed that the earth shall ascend into the higher dimensions. And not only this planet, but all the other planets of this solar system. And if we had access to a spacecraft today and we flew out to Pluto or Jupiter or Saturn, we would find the vibrations there are rising too, because it's a system-wide thing throughout. But the one laggard planet of all this whole solar system is Earth. And not so much Earth, but the humanity here. And that's why your work is so important. Our work is so important to help people get up to speed and shift into this new higher dimensions. As an example, the Schumann resonance or the resonance vibration of this planet was 7.8 hertz for tens of thousands of years
Hmm.
until September 2016 when it doubled from 7.8 hertz to 13.8 hertz. And since that time, as of I think 2 weeks ago, it was over 9,000 hertz,
Wow,
which is
that's
just amazing.
significant. Yes.
Yeah, which is just amazing. And I have something here. I hope I can find it. Here it is. It's a tuning fork I have that's calibrated to the frequency of love. And when you
Right.
hit it, you spread love everywhere. Oh, doggone it.
And
Well,
the hertz on the tuning fork is 528 hertz, correct?
yeah, it's no 528,
Oh,
528 hertz.
528.
And
Yes.
then
What
when
did
you
I
hit it,
say?
yeah, when you hit it, it goes everywhere. And I think I may have cleaned off my desk and put it away so thinking I wouldn't need it. But what you do when you hit one of these, oh, here it is. When you hit one of these tuning forks with one of these crystals from Lemuria, you spread love everywhere. I'm going to hit that now. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's a
Yes, I
528
can
hertz. There we go. And the crystals themselves are from Mount Shasta, and they're
hear.
blessed by the people and priests of Telos and Adama. So when you hit both of these together, you get a double whammy of love everywhere. So, and since your conference is peace and light and love, I can't think of a better thing. So that's what this is
Thank
all
you
about.
so much, Ted. Thank you so much. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
sure, sure. I have those out. But the bottom line is that we are all powerful spiritual beings meant to create a much better and happier place. And I'll show you how I've done it to do that. On my radio show, I've been asking everyone to say this little prayer, the Ho'onopono,
Oh, yes.
to help clean up the water at Fukushima. And if you'd like, go ahead. We'll say it now 3 times. You say, "Water, we're
Okay.
sorry."
Water, we're sorry.
Water, please forgive us. No, no.
Water,
Water, we're
please.
sorry. Yeah. Water, we're sorry. Water, please forgive us.
Water, please forgive us.
Water, we thank you.
Water, we thank you.
And water, we love you.
And water, we love you.
We'll do it twice more. Water, we're sorry.
Water, we're sorry.
Water, please forgive us.
Water, please forgive us.
Water, we thank you.
Water, we thank you.
And water, we love you.
And water, we love you.
Yeah. So say that a couple times, 3 times, and then you send that energy, that love energy, to Fukushima, and using that technique, the Ho'onopono, and also my friend working with another scientist friend of mine, Dr. Libby out of Montana, she has a special Hado machine where she's been changing the vibration of the radioactive water at Fukushima to remove the radiation. She's been doing that since December. We have successfully decreased the amount of radiation in the radioactive holding tanks by 51%, approximately, from her instruments. So, and the reason we've been doing it is because the Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, I don't know what they're going to do now, but they have plans to dump all this radioactive water into the Pacific by the end of this year, which I consider unacceptable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we want to get it so by June, the whole place is cleaned up.
That would be fabulous. Could you
Yeah,
imagine? That would be fantastic. Yes.
absolutely. And I've talked about this on the air in my show since December. And that's the thing about the media, the mass media here in the United States. Nobody reports on it. I mean, they prefer to dwell on what are the Kardashians doing next, or what's the weather report. You'd think they'd say something, but they don't. But that's okay.
Right.
The word's getting out there, and I know that people are helping
Yes.
out. But
Yes.
but we're here to create a much better and happier planet. And that's the importance of Dr. Emoto's work and what I try to instill in people too. And the planet is shifting into the higher dimensions. And it's amazing to me how negative entities have tried to stop it, but they're gonna fail. All of their efforts are gonna fail. So anyway.
So tell us, Ted, what are you writing right now? What is your new book about?
The new book about our messages from the Selosians and Pleiadians on their own experience as civilizations and how they operate now as a model for ourselves to evolve into. A little bit about, I'll go to the Telosians in a moment, but for the Pleiadians, that's where I come from. 52,000 years ago, they had a huge civil war among the Pleiadians, and millions and millions of people died in nuclear exchange. And they're now in the fifth and higher dimensions, but I mean, they shed a lot of tears to get to that point. And they don't want us. They love us dearly. Many of us, not all, but many of us here on the planet are from the Pleiades. And many of us came as a result of this civil war 52,000 years ago, including yours truly. I came here as a result of that. But we've been working hard ever since to advance into these higher dimensions, and that's our destiny, if you wish. The planet now is shifting into the fifth dimension, and she wants as many of us to go along as possible.
Right.
And so that's why it's a familiar pattern. The Atlanteans, during the Atlantean time, 12,500 years ago, there was a small group of negatives that took control of the planet and everything, blowing up much of the planet, and we kind of slipped back in evolution. But our chance now, and we will succeed this time, even though we didn't 12,500 years ago. So that's what we're doing now. And I'm modeling, the book is on messages from these civilizations on how we might live in peace. As an example, I time travel, and in the future, I'm seeing the cities, they won't be abandoned, but they won't be as important as they are now, because everything will be decentralized. People will live self-sufficiently, organically, with their own free energy sources out in what's now rural areas. There won't be the dichotomy between urban and rural now. There'll be much more spread out. I was told several years ago by my angels and galactic friends that there would be a separation of those who are ascending and those who are asleep and aren't. And it's the purpose of this conference, which is so important, to help wake up those, to add to the knowledge already of those ascending, and also to help wake up people. So we don't have to repeat all these steps again. Negative entities who want to stick with the old ways and who don't want to ascend, they're going to another Earth-like planet on the other side of the solar system in the lower third dimension, where they will be for 25,800 years, a one-mind Cocoon cycle.
Oh, wow.
So but that's the next chance they get. I mean, that matter's never, destroyed. They will go there.
Right.
So anyway, but there's a big separation happening now, and it's all based on free choice, what people want. But your work is so important, and this conference is so important because you're helping lead the way, people having a better and happier path. So,
Yes, I agree, Ted. I think that helping people, awaken to their own consciousness and
mhm,
making the right choices for themselves is such, and it's quite a journey, but it's definitely one of those things that we hope that everyone can achieve in this lifetime so that
mhm,
they can get to that next level of consciousness,
mhm.
and so that we can bring forth this new world that you're talking about. So,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
thank
And we're all
you.
here for a purpose, to help each other. And one of the things that President Kennedy has told me is that once we realize that we all have that spark of the God within us, the supreme being, we won't go out and hurt anybody anymore, because we're just
Right,
hurting ourselves. When we attack others, we're just hurting ourselves. And that
right.
oneness is what we really need to learn now. And we are going there. I know we're going to make it this time.
Yes, I
And
agree, Ted. I agree. I think that there's a lot of people around the world who are working for unity and oneness, and they're doing a great job doing this. And so
right.
that's what it's about. It's about unifying humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's
Thank-
wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
Ted, it's been quite an honor having you here today. I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see your presentation during the Seventh World Conference on Peace and Light. And I can't wait for all the surprises that you have for us, that you
Mhm.
have in store for us. Excuse
Oh,
me. And Ted,
thank
before we
you.
leave, do you have a message for all our listeners that you would
I
like to
do.
give?
I do. I sure do. First off, I just want to get before I forget, you can listen to me on Saturdays in both Spanish and English, thanks to your help, Teresita. And
Very
then
welcome,
again,
Ted.
on on Mondays from noon to 2 in Vienna, Austria. That's broadcast throughout Central Europe and Austria, Southern Germany, and Switzerland. And for all broadcast information, you can go to outofthisworldradio.net. And then I have lots of spiritual trips I take as well to Mount Shasta, Peru, and Sedona in Mexico now. And you can find out more information about that at outofthisworldreadings.com. And the message I want to tell you is that try to leave no neighbor behind. Um, and it's often the smallest things that you do that really count in a person's life. And I'll give you an example. I had a fellow, every year I have what's called the Galactic Wisdom Conference, and I had a fellow named Garnet Schultheiser at my conference a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
He was a successful corporate lawyer in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, earned a lot of money for his clients in his law firm. And the spirits gave him a life review one day. They said to him, the most important thing you ever did, it wasn't making all this money. It was sitting down with a homeless person for about 20 or 30 minutes on a cold spring day for this homeless lady who was living on the street. She lost her home and lost her family and had no one to turn to. And he gave her a bunch of encouragement and told her where to check out some social service agencies and some churches to help her out. And she turned her life around and ended up getting married, going back to school, having a family. And she came to him a couple of years later and said, it was that 30 minutes you spent with me on the street was the most important thing in my whole life. It turned my whole life around. So I
Wow.
guess when you see people, having a tough time on the street, just stop and give them a couple words of encouragement. Give them a couple bucks if you got it, if you can afford it. And it doesn't matter if they use it for drugs or alcohol, because that's not your business. But that will help them. Just
That's right.
being kind. Words are powerful things, and we are going to make it. I know it's hard right now. A lot of people are taking these injectables that are causing a lot of health problems. Um, it's everyone's choice whether they take it or not. I don't recommend taking it; they're unproven. But we'll make through it. We'll make it through. I know we will, because this is our
Yes,
destiny. This is our
yes,
destiny, and we're going to get there this time. And we are getting a lot of angelic help. All the eyes of this universe are upon us. There's a lot of alien civilizations watching us now,
that's
because
right.
they're interested to see how we do and whether we can get through it. I know we're going to get through it.
We
After,
will.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, all of us have a spark of the Creator within us, and once we realize that, we can all depend upon that for making this world a better place. So, and people are welcome to write me. My email is outofthisworld1150@gmail.com. And I love hearing from my listeners and supporters, but we're all in this together to make this world a better place. And I especially want to thank you and Dr. Fernandez and our production assistant today for making this possible.
Oh, you're
Um,
welcome, Ted. It's been such an honor having you here, and I'm just so grateful to see you here today and be able to speak to you.
oh,
And I can't wait for everything else that's to come. So thank you so much, Ted. It's been a joy, and I will talk to you soon. Thank
okay.
you, everyone, and we hope to see you soon next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Teresita. I'm looking forward to June at the conference. It'll be fun.
Yes, I can't wait, Ted. See you then.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios. Bye-bye. Bye.